receive no such censure. Why one rule for Winston Peters, another rule for Nick Smith MP? The Registrar of Pecuniary Interests said there was no clarity on the matter and that she would have advised an MP back then to seek legal advice. Had I done that back then, no declaration would have been required. Mr Hyde's allegation of a debt failed. Mr Copeland's allegation of a gift should have likewise. So the inquiry was about politics, and I want to give a personal thanks to the thousands of people who contacted my office with their support and concern as to the conduct of the committee's business by some committee members. They know the judgment is wrong, and the democratic foundations upon which this country is built have been weakened in the name of political bias and interest. Here's a record of comments made by some members of the committee before and during the hearing. Norman, time after time, from the Greens Party. Then Wayne Mapp, 21 August. He's going on there before he even heard the first day of the hearing. That's a law lecturer, and he thinks that's respectable. And then we've got Brownlee, page after page of his comments. And then you have the website of one Heather Roy from the ACT Party. Page after page of prejudgment, predetermination. They should have disqualified themselves. They failed their duty. They tainted the hearings. And they rendered a serious matter a banal, useless charade, a farce, some obsessed with acting as a kangaroo court. To use the words of Bernard Shaw, we'll hang him in the morning, but first we'll give him a trial. I tabled 27 contradictory statements by the committee's chief witness against me. There is a 28th one. It is that he gave $250,000 to the Maori Party. They deny it. So now, with 28 misrepresentations and falsehoods, why does the Maori Party believe him and not Winston Peters? Why do they believe him after 28 falsehoods and not Winston Peters? And why would they tell Maoridom on the marae and over the airwaves they supported me when at the committee they did the reverse? They tried to ride the waves of sentiment, then lined up with John Key and Rodney Hyde to sell me out. And soon, before their people, they will find the consequences of that. The Greens funded the committee with their least experienced MP, with absolutely no understanding of the law and the judicial process. Mr Norman commented in the media over and over again throughout the sittings of the committee. And as for journalists who naively suggest that the Greens have no axe to grind with Winston Peters and New Zealand First, who consigned the Greens to a position outside of government for the past 3 years? How naive can you be? Mr Key condemned me before he had heard any evidence. Mr Key being ruled against in a majority decision by a body split down party lines on an issue where one has gained nothing personally, not 1 cent, is one thing. But being found, Mr Key, to have misled the public and having used one's position to gain personally to the tune of tens and tens of millions, of thousands, that, Mr Key, is what we call in this business a knockout. And his explanation, quotes, I didn't release details of those shareholdings at that time. In hindsight, I should have, and I'm doing so now. End of quotes. So one rule for Mr Key and one for Winston Peters. Sitting over there in that committee was a man called Murray McCulley. Murray McCulley got $3.5 million in a taxpayer bailout, did not declare it, hid all the details, and you'll hear more lately, all about, he hid all the details and then got made a cabinet minister. Here's a man sitting on judgment on me who spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in the public interest, and I've never enriched myself by 1 damn cent. And they have the effrontery to line me up in their bias and thought they'd get away with it. I want to say this. The court that I will stand before is on Saturday, 8 November, and I'll place my faith in the people of New Zealand to decide the outcome of this case. I rest my case in the judgment of the people of New Zealand, and the only people owed an apology are the people of New Zealand who have sat through months of political posturing and grandstanding and bias and prejudice. I want to put on record also my gratitude to those members of the committee who tried to uphold the standards of a neutral, independent body as a tribunal, as a court of law. Those that did not shamed themselves, they shamed their practice, they shamed their profession, and they shamed Parliament. I asked for fairness. I got a farce. There is no morality or ethics in this motion today.